There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you?
Suppose you tell me about it from the beginning.
I'm from Boston. I'm trying to find my pony. I believe he's here in San Francisco with a man by the name of Friday. King Friday. I don't know where they met. We've never been as close as man and pony ought to be. If we had, Bumpy would have told me he was running away with him. Our parents are in Honolulu. I must find them before they return. They'll be back on the 1st.
Pony? I don't take pony cases.
I had a letter from him a few weeks ago. It said nothing except that he was all right. I sent a telegram begging him to come home. I sent it to a general delivery address, the one he gave. I waited a week and no answer came, so I decided to come out here myself. I wrote him that I was coming. Oh, I shouldn't have, should I? It's not always easy to know what to do.
Mike, no one sends telegrams. There's no such thing as general delivery, and ponies can't write! This is ridiculous. No one's gonna buy this.
Maybe they won't, but they'll buy Max Mike movies. Oh, we like to have our little jests, don't we? Trust me, we
are
do.
Capricious, aren't we?
Oh, yes. Oh, what a caprice, a naughty caprice. This week, as part of our series Monochrome, a look at black and white movies, we take a deep look at a supposed classic, 1944's The Maltese Falcon. Or is it The Maltese Falcon? Take your pick. This is one of those films that seems to live in the consciousness of movie lovers and popular culture, but why? And does it hold up after all this time? Those are just some of the questions we'll try and answer in this episode. And by we, I mean that guy over there hugging his little gold statuette, the master of shadows, Max Noir Levine. Say something detective-y, Max.
No, you cannot have my precious.
That's not detective-y at all. But I am the sidekick in the alley, he who was born to be murdered, Mike Victim Loose. Before we answer those questions about that movie, we'll have you answer this week's poll question. Poll question. Last week's question was, what movies' costumes were so compelling they were basically characters on their own? We got lots and lots of great answers, and here be they. Chrissy Becker was up first with, quote, Sleepy Hollow, A Knight's Tale, Anna Karenina, 2012, Moulin Rouge, Cinderella, 2015. I'm sure there are a million more I can't think of right now, end quote. That's a lot. Thanks, Chrissy. Javi Carl, who some people call Benjamin, gave us, quote, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It was definitely critical, end quote. Indeed they were. Heck, wardrobe is right in the title. Thanks, Javi. Tyler Stewart, longtime listener, first-time caller, said Bram Stoker's Dracula. Indeed, the costumes in that left quite an impression. Thank you, Tyler.
Okay, costumes, sure.
Hey, Keanu Reeves was in that. Daniel Howe was next with, quote, Haven't seen it in a long time, but I recall liking the wardrobe in The Cell, end quote. I'm in the same boat. Tyler Stewart and Haley King poked in to point out that Eiko Ishioka, sure, was the designer...
Eiko Sawakaki. Oh, damn.
I'm guessing Eiko Ishioka was the designer for both that and Dracula. Then Daniel also remembered, quote, Immortals, end quote. Oh, yes, Immortals. I remember Immortals, yeah.
Come on back, Mike.
Thanks, Daniel. That's literally the only thing worth remembering in that film. Kelly Cooper exulted, quote, Flash Gordon's alive, end quote. He is indeed icy or hot. That's a deeper. Thanks, Kelly. Adam Mark simply stated, Titanic. It was all about the hats. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, can see that.
Dave had many observances, some of which I can pronounce. Quote, haha, too many to count. I love the costuming most of Gosha Hideo's later films. Kurosawa does amazing clothing in his later color works as well. I love the blue suit in Tokyo Drifter, which is a film by Seijun Suzuki that is easy to locate. As I recall, the outfits in Samurai Spy are fabulous. It might only be the ninja outfit that is cool in that one. It's a Criterion film, so it's also easy to find. Oh, and Samurai Spy. Oh yeah, and Gates of Hell, end quote. That's a whole lot of clothes. Thanks, wow. Dave. Charles Forsyth's choice was The Fifth Element. Indeed,
oh, sure.
That was some wild stuff. Thanks,
That
Charles.
was weird, wild stuff.
Weird and wild stuff.
Oh,
Weird and... I do it. Absolutely horrible,
Yeah.
Johnny Carson. Tony L.P. Kellner posted, quote, My Fair Lady and The Devil Wears Prada, and though there are so many other problems, Cruella, end quote. I mean, Prada was all about the costumes, so...
Yep.
Thanks, Tony. Haley King scoots back in with, quote, Crimson Peak. There is so much storytelling in those costumes,
yeah.
and they are masterpieces of technical craft. Great blend of historical inspiration with the fantastical. And you know, as much as they are absolutely horrible movies, the costumes in the Star Wars prequels are phenomenal, end quote. I certainly agree with those last points.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of it.
They are, actually. They really are astounding. So
It's just overshadowed by everything else bad.
the dullness, yes. Be careful.
Yes,
the
the
dullness
dull.
rubs off. Thanks, Haley. Regan McStravick, not totally my cousin, writes, quote, Ever After, if only because the one scene where Drew Barrymore makes her entrance at the ball is one of the most breathtakingly beautiful shots in cinematic history, end quote. I sneezed in my cocaine.
So quick, somebody get a jar, poke some holes in the lid.
And a stick in it. Well observed. Thanks, Regan. I knew we were going to have trouble with that. Pete Krychik gives us a second vote for Fifth Element. Thanks, Stinky. Brian Mundo, not to be left out, said, The Fifth Element. My go-to for most questions. In this case, thermal bandages for the win, end quote. You can't argue with thermal bandages. Thank you,
cannot. Not when they're on Mila Jovovovovich.
Hova, 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 hova. Yeah. Lastly, over to the website, Snowy Vince posted, quote, The costumes in The Road Warrior really helped make the movie for me. Those outfits really were like another character and gave the world a look I don't remember seeing before, as most post-apocalyptic films were mostly barbarians against intellectuals or some version of that. The post-apocalyptic punk look really worked, end quote. And if you make me say post-apocalyptic, see, I knew at least once I was going to screw it up.
Polka apocalypse, yep.
Yeah. You know, I think those costumes actually defined a whole trend in and out of movies.
It really did.
Especially in Harvard Square. Thank you, Vince.
Yeah.
So what about you, Max? You were all into the costumes, as I remember.
Yeah.
What's your pick?
First off, I got to go. I have two. I got to go with Vince on Road Warrior because that really defined every post-apocalyptic movie. Went for feathers and leathers. That's just how it was, and it's still going on. Leathers, pieces of animal, and random pieces of sports equipment.
Well, you know, because after the bomb, all there's going to be left is chaps.
True.
Assless chaps.
Yeah. We will wander the wasteland in our assless chaps.
Oh, Fez, you big monkey.
And oddly enough, even though the movies themselves are questionable, the Matrix movies.
Oh.
The outfits in there, I don't know how good they are, but they are distinctive, and again, they really did define a look for a good 10, 20 years.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they really boosted the stock of Hot Topic, but...
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Now, what about you? What costume drama leaps to mind?
Excalibur. That armor just was like, wow, I have never seen armor like that, throughout the movie. And of course, as been pointed out by historical accurate people or whatever, you would not just go wandering around wearing your full plate all the time.
Not to mention, if it's the Arthurian legend, which is around 10th century, that kind of armor didn't exist.
No.
And wouldn't for 300 or 400 years.
But it's fantastic.
Oh, it looks amazing.
And it turns out it was all made by this one guy named Terry. He's a British guy who went on to do armor and swords and stuff for many other things. And it was actually made, I think, out of polished aluminum, which is one of the reasons that the actors could stand to wear it.
and didn't fall over all the time.
Though historically inaccurate, it just stands out like crazy in that movie.
Interesting, okay.
But I think a lot of our other answers, Road Warrior for sure. I mean, that just if you're going to do that thing, if you're going to do that thing and you're not wearing football pads and leather, it's not post-apocalypse. I'm sorry.
Nope, it's just a bad Monday.
Cool. Well, thanks to all who answered, but we have another assignment for you.
Yes, we do, if you choose to accept it.
And
by the way,
will.
we will disavow all knowledge.
Somehow we make you do this. I don't know how.
Yep.
I think we ask. Who is your favorite movie detective? It could be a live action or even animated choice, but we want to know who solves crime the best for you. Write us and keep Bumpy Bucks afloat in these crypto-troubled times, won't you?
I call dibs on Detective Pikachu.
Okay, you can have that. And
Oh,
I don't
no, there's
going to
be a struggle for that.
No.
There's going to be a struggle.
But for now, we have a brand new segment on our show. We go to trivia.
Wait a minute. The facts.
Budget. Just take a guess, because this is 44.
$1 million.
Not even really close. $375,000. That's a type of dollar we have not seen in the show in a long time. The $1,000.
$1,000. They make those?
Not anymore. That's an old thing. 375,000. Take 1.8 million. So, although by today's standards the amount is small, the percentage is huge.
Yeah, I mean, no wonder we saw Maltese Falcon 2, The Falcon's Revenge.
We're getting to that. That's still pretty good for a fake bird. Oh, spoiler! We're so naughty. In a very rare instance, the plot of this movie is nearly word for word the plot of the book. In fact, when I went to find out the plot of the book, read it in Wikipedia, and had to keep checking to make sure they were talking about the book. Yeah. This is the second direct adaptation of Dashiell Hammett's novel. The first, a 1931 pre-Hays Code version, was considered too racy when Warner wanted to re-release it in 1936. So they set about making this version. The original starred, are you ready for this? Ricardo Cortez, B.B. Daniels, and Dudley Diggs. You know.
Dudley Diggs! Oh, we missed a Dudley Diggs movie?
Yes.
Oh, that man is a national treasure.
Maybe next time. There were 8 Falcon maquettes made for the movie, 6 of plaster, 2 of lead. One of the lead ones... Yeah, one of the lead ones was dropped on Bogart's foot and still bears the dents from this accident.
Oh,
that
God.
one is on display at the Warner Brothers Studio Tour. I've seen it. 2 others...
I looked it up, by the way.
Yep.
That thing weighed almost 50 pounds.
It's lead! That's like when they're carefully standing it up. I'm betting it's like a second take, and it's like, yeah, we need to be careful it doesn't fall on Bogey's foot again, because, you know, there's somebody, I want to hear him swear, because I bet that man could swear like no other.
He could take the paint off the walls, I bet.
I bet. 2 others of those maquettes still exist besides the one at Warner's, and all 3 are worth at least $1 million.
$1 million. Yep. Wow.
To save money, Bogart had to wear his own clothes for this role. Likely so did many of the other actors, Mary Astor not being one of them. Actually, and Sidney Greenstreet not being one of them either.
Yeah.
To make her seem more nervous and out of breath, director John Huston, best known for his part in the movie Bermuda Triangle, made Mary...
He is not.
He is.
He's best known as the voice of Gandalf in the Hobbit cartoon.
Sure. He made actor Mary Astor run around the set a few times before each of her scenes. Which I think is just mean, but it does work. Yeah.
You've got to help me.
Oh, Mr. Spade, can you... My sister... Okay. The final line of this movie is paraphrased from Shakespeare. It's from The Tempest. The original line reads, quote, "We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep," end quote. Though technically, Ward Bond has the final line with the immortal, huh?
Yep. I hear AMI has that listed as one of the 100 best lines.
In a movie.
Huh?
Yeah. But it's his lilt that carries it. Yeah.
Yep.
This is Sidney Greenstreet's first movie role, though he'd been a stage actor for quite a while. Warner Brothers didn't want to confuse audiences by calling this movie the same as their 1931 adaptation. A much better title to them was The Gent from Frisco. Let's that sink in, folks. The Gent from Frisco.
Gent from Frisco.
Luckily, John Huston convinced them otherwise. We see a nod to this in the movie poster in one scene from a fake movie called The Gal from Albany, or The Galbany, if you prefer. But it is in the background. I actually wondered about that movie, and they put it in, it's like, yeah, we're not doing that, so here's the joke. And there were apparently a lot of jokes on the set. There is, more or less, a sequel to this film, and 2 of this film's stars appeared in it, Peter Lorre and Sidney Greenstreet. It was meant to have many of the same characters, but when author Hammett found out about it, he nixed the idea, as he owned the characters, not the studio. Characters renamed, the movie still came out titled 3 Strangers in 1946. It was made from a pre-existing script by John Huston.
Never heard of it.
Speaking of Huston, this was his directorial debut. He was a screenwriter up till then. Of the many films in which he appeared, this is Peter Lorre's favorite.
Oh.
And truly lots more, but we got a story to do and a show to tell, or strike that.
We got a barn right here and a show to put on.
But before we get to the plot, Max, do you have any trivia about this movie?
One thing, there is some vague historical accuracy about the Maltese Falcon in that the Knights of Malta did pay tribute to the King of France, and they would send him a live falcon once a year. The whole solid gold covered in jewels, and that's what's
solid gold goodies?
Gold goodies is complete fiction.
But it's presented as such fact in the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And wait.
Wait.
But
it's in the opening crawl. It must be true.
You don't have to wait any longer, because here's the plot.
Yeah.
Sam Spade, played by Humphrey Bogart, is half of the private detective firm Spade & Archer. One day, a client, Miss Wonderly, played by Mary Astor, comes in all aflutter because her kid sister has run away with a ne'er-do-well and, sob, could Sam Spade please try and get to the kid sister by way of the dreaded and unseen Floyd Thursby? Could he try and convince her to come to her senses? Liking what he sees, and the $200 paid, Spade takes the case, but it's Archer who swoops in to offer to tail Thursby first. Bad choice. While on the job, he's shot and killed, leaving a lot of unanswered questions. Seems Miss Wonderly wasn't exactly telling the truth, and her name wasn't Wonderly either. Obviously lying, she won't quite get to the truth, but that's okay, because suddenly another interested party shows up, Joel Cairo, as played by Peter Lorre. He wants to know where the bird is. What bird? Spade wisely doesn't ask. Still, this all seems to have something to do with Wonderly, or rather O'Shaughnessy, and Spade's dead partner. Seemingly from out of nowhere, yet another party, Mr. Gutman, played by Sidney Greenstreet, sends an invitation for Spade to visit and perhaps trade information about this bird, a bird no one seems to have, and only one person seems to know where it might be. And it gets more muddled from there. A lost treasure, this falcon is purported to be solid gold, set about with precious stones, and all set about with fever trees. No, set about with precious stones and worth an absolute fortune. But where is it? Can anything Bridget O'Shaughnessy says be trusted? Has she fallen in love with Sam Spade? Has he with her? Are the Fat Man and Cairo working together? Were Cairo and O'Shaughnessy? And what about Scarecrow's brain?
Yeah.
Stay tuned and find out.
The film.
Max, okay, this is dumb. There's no reason to pretend that you did not see this film before we did this show.
Oh, several times.
Yes. Do you remember the first time you actually watched it? Because this is tough.
Oh, boy. I think I saw it at the Harvard Square.
Oh, man, that's a great place. The only place better possibly would have been the Bridle.
It was either there or the Orson Welles. I can't remember which. It was a movie in a theater in Harvard Square. Sure. Back when there were theaters in Harvard Square. More than one.
Yeah, there's still one. Yeah.
What about
so
you?
This would have been probably in the 80s, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I think so. 70s or 80s. What about you?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah. It's one of those movies, yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you think you have, because you know enough about it, and you've seen clips or something. I think there were clips I saw on an old TV show called Don Adams Screen Test. Do you remember that?
I swear that name is familiar, but I have I can't associate anything with it.
It was actually a really neat idea. They would have contestants come on, and they would be paired up with a celebrity. Please note I didn't say star.
Yeah.
And they would reenact a famous scene from a famous movie. And I think this was one of them. I know they did one for Casablanca, which is just mean.
Yeah.
You'll be playing the part of Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, come on!
But I think this was one of them. I think that there was a scene, and I think that that's where I first saw scenes.
Okay.
I honestly don't know that I sat to watch this film all the way through until maybe a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's, it's not, for me, it's not quite Casablanca. Casablanca, I think you've seen it even before you were born. If you're of a certain age, you just...
People who have never been to a movie theater or seen a TV screen have seen Casablanca. It just happens.
Yeah, there's probably like some tribe in the deepest, darkest Africa that has seen Casablanca. We usually start with the acting, so why don't we do that? There's a big name in this. It's a pretty big name. Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah, kinda.
How do we feel about Humphrey?
It's a very strange part for him. He's usually very sort of straightforward, but Sam Spade, which, yes, it's that Sam Spade, the one that people who've never seen any of the movies know Sam Spade.
Yeah.
Honestly, really kind of sneaky.
Yeah.
And he's not a very nice person.
That's actually one of my first notes was Sam Spade is not a nice man.
Yeah, he's not. He's sleeping with his partner's wife.
Shh.
Oh, sorry. Which apparently everybody knows. But it's a secret.
Well, the cops all know.
They all know. His secretary knows. Everybody knows.
Archer doesn't know.
Yeah. Scotty doesn't know. Okay, there's a deeper. But I mean, he's a really good liar. I mean, he lies to everybody.
Oh, we're going to get to lying.
Comes up with it on his feet really quickly.
Yeah.
I think he's a really interesting character. I think Bogart does him really well. He's not nice.
There's one scene in particular I like in his portrayal. It's when he goes to Gutman's apartment and he loses it. He gets really angry and upset and he storms out of the apartment. And just how he gets out of the door, he visibly relaxes and starts smiling.
He realized it was an act.
And that was actually really well played because we're like, wow, what has gotten to Sam's? Oh, nothing. Okay. You know, here's the thing. It's Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah.
Are you going to get a bad performance out of him?
You really have to work to get a bad performance out of Bogart. Unless the script is just a mess.
Yeah. Apparently, this was his favorite movie to make. They had such a good time in this film. There was a lot of pranking going on, some of it rather racy.
Oh, dear.
But he spent the rest of his career looking for scripts that would feel as fun to make as this one. So he was having a good time. And I got to say, I think since this is Sidney's first film, this must be the first film of the triumvirate, Humphrey Bogart, Peter Lorre, and Sidney Greenstreet. And the chemistry between those three characters, actors, whatever, is just... And apparently, Bogart and Lorre were like tight pals. One of the main ways you became tight pals with Humphrey Bogart is if you could also drink like a fish.
Yeah, if you drank a lot and smoked a lot, which of course is what would kill Bogart.
Yeah.
I think he only made it to 44.
He didn't, I don't think he made it out of the 50s. I know he made African Queen in the 50s, but it wasn't much longer after that he died.
Yeah.
So, Peter Lorre. Peter Lorre is almost not an actor. He's almost a flavor.
He pretty much, when you get Peter Lorre in a movie, he's playing Peter Lorre.
Yeah.
Not a lot of variation there.
And that's okay.
He was 57 when he died.
57? Okay. I like him. I actually think he's a lot of fun, this movie. I think they give him a little bit more to do. The one thing I have to ask, though, is he supposed to be gay?
It's hard to tell. He's kind of a dandy. I mean, he smells. They tell him he smells like gardenias, apparently. And
well, he sent it his business card, which is. I mean, that's pretty tutti, fresh and fruity.
I thought it was just because he wore so much cologne it seeped into the cards.
Well, yeah, his handkerchief smells too when he gets knocked out.
And he has the puffy shirt.
He does.
Frilled shirt, very clearly, very concerned. Oh, Spade beats him up. Yeah. And his first is, oh, you've ruined my shirt. That's what worries him. Not that you may have given me a concussion, but you ruined my shirt.
I think he's a lot of fun. He's a mix of kind of ridiculous, but still dangerous. Like, you have this feeling that there's probably a really nasty streak if he ever gets to express it in Joel Cairo.
Yeah, but he's very superficial, the character.
Yeah.
He's there for set decoration, practically.
He's there to be Peter Lorre.
Yeah, he is. And as such, nobody does Peter Lorre better.
Speaking of doing Peter Lorre better, Sidney Greenstreet.
What?
Let's face it, Sidney Greenstreet has one dial, one notch on his dial. You turn it, you get Sidney Greenstreet, and that's fine. I love the way he's exactly the same in Casablanca. Quite honestly, if you told me that Ferrari's old name was Gutman, I'd have believed it. Because he's supposed to be Italian or something in Casablanca with a name like Ferrari. But he's wearing a fez, so who knows?
Trying to blend.
But there's always this little, I'm trying to get away with things and my face stays totally straight until you call me out. And then he just breaks into this little laugh, and I don't know. I am
Gutman
delighted by Sidney Greenstreet.
Gutman has more of a sense of humor, I think, and he's much more, I don't know, laissez-faire about things. I like his reaction at the end when again, spoiler, turns out the Falcon isn't real.
Yeah.
And, Peter Lorre breaks down crying.
Yeah.
And he starts laughing.
Yeah. And it's Sidney Greenstreet. Again, he's more a flavor than he is an actor in the movies that I've seen him. He basically plays Sidney Greenstreet. And it's fine because, again, for me, the chemistry between Bogart, Greenstreet, and Lorre, it's almost like Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. It's this triumvirate, and together they make this one amazing person. So
Kinda.
we get Ward Bond shortly.
He's a police sergeant. He's fun. He's ward bonding all over the place. He usually does, except when he plays a bad guy. He's usually kind of the likable, somewhat lunk-headed, good-hearted plot device.
Wait, he's Bert the cop in It's a Wonderful Life, right?
Yeah, he plays a lot of cops.
Yeah, which he doesn't have his mustache, but quite honestly, he's kind of made to play.
He does. He looks like a city cop.
We have Elisha Cook Jr., who you may know as Samuel Cogley from Star Trek, or The Heel from an episode of The Odd Couple.
Or you may know him as the creepy little guy in The House on Haunted Hill.
Or the creepy little guy in this movie.
Yeah.
And he is creepy. He's ineffectual, the character is, but his portrayal, he is creepy.
He is, but he's also kind of pathetic. He's trying to be a tough guy. He wants to be, and he's bad at it.
Yeah.
I mean, Bogart just disarms him, 2-3 times?
With his coat.
Slaps him around whenever he feels like it. The kid is desperate to be respected or feared, and he just isn't. And his first name is Wilmer. How many badasses do you know named Wilmer?
None.
Also, it still strikes me as odd. They keep referring to him, or Bogart keeps calling him a kid. Do
you know how old he was?
He was 38 when he made this movie. He was 38.
But he looks young.
He doesn't look like a kid.
No, but he looks young and he does look small.
Yeah, he's not physically imposing, but he is very intense. There's this, I'm going to prove myself, by God, even if I have to kill myself doing it.
Well, and you can tell that the leash that Gutman has him on is very, very tight. And if he had his way, he would have killed Bogart 3 times in this film.
Yeah.
He kicks him in the face at one point when he's down. So I think he does a great job. But of course, I've seen him in a number of other things, and I think he's a pretty good, intense actor. But there is a big name I've left to last on purpose.
Yes, and I know exactly who you mean, and that was the district attorney played by John Hamilton, right?
No.
Did you recognize him?
Yes, I did. Great Caesar's Ghost!
Yep, that was Perry White. He's in one scene, but I was like, who is that guy? He looks like, Yeah. So that's who you meant, right?
No.
Oh.
I met Mary Astor.
Oh, yes.
Mary Astor is not an actor I know very much of. I don't know that I've seen her in many things. And I've seen this film before, but of course, when I watch it for the show, I tend to be a little bit more critical. So I was looking at her performance more than I usually would. And I got to say, and this may disappoint some people, I got to say, she is phenomenal. Oh my God, do I love her in this film.
It's really interesting. Her big thing, you don't see her in a lot because she was a major silent film star. She was one of a small number who really made the transition from silent to talkies.
Yeah.
Partly because, first off, she is unbelievably good looking. And her parents knew this. They pushed her into beauty contests, and they basically figured, this is our meal ticket.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I adore her. She is the character. One of my notes is that she's just, when she first starts, the whole story that we paraphrased at the opening of the show.
Yeah.
Or should I say ruined. I noticed something really subtle. She does not make eye contact with Sam Spade, which is one of the ways you can tell from the start, if you're paying attention, that she is lying, because she is lying. And I actually have
Interesting.
a talking point. I'm going to get to this talking point right now, which is, do we ever believe her?
Nope.
Ever.
Never.
No.
I assume she comes across, she really pulls off the whole compulsive liar thing. You get the
Yes.
feeling it's not necessarily something she intends to do. It's she can't help herself. Her first instinct is to lie. And it's brought across very subtly, sometimes not so much when she's fidgeting or walking around the room coming up with a story, but sometimes when just the way she suddenly shifts in her chair, or the way she'll like lift her chin.
Or look away.
Or look away, yeah.
I delighted in her. And I like Humphrey Bogart. I'll watch him in just about anything. Except maybe Treasure of Sierra Madre, because he's pretty unpleasant in that.
That's a hard movie to watch. It's brilliant, but it is not fun.
But watching her lead Humphrey along, and the thing is that Spade says, oh yeah, we didn't believe you anyway. You know, when you told us the story, we didn't buy the whole thing. Yeah, I don't buy your story there, Sam. I think once Archer gets killed, you're like, okay, something's not on the up and up, and you're trying to ferret things out from her. But you can see him kind of believing some of her stuff and then catch himself go, oh, wait a minute, she's lying. And every time he catches her, she comes up with another story. And okay, maybe Houston made her run around the office or whatever, but I think she's delightful. I would never want to deal with this person, but the portrayal is so much fun. She is just a delight to watch. I take it you agree on that.
Oh yeah, no, she is terrific. I think her performance is probably one of the most nuanced and the most layered in the movie.
She may be the only nuanced and layered performance.
I don't know. I think Bogart does some of it because again, with Spade, we can't always tell where he's going with stuff or what he's thinking. We don't always know what he's going to. In fact, we almost never really know what he's going to do.
Yeah, it brings me to the writing.
Yeah.
This is like one of the most famous of Dashiell Hammond's books, if not the most famous. And as I said in the trivia, this film is pretty much cleaving right to the page. There's a couple of things that got left out, but basically what's there is in the book. And I found things kind of janky.
Like,
it didn't flow, I thought, the actual... And there's... When we first get to Gutman, one of the points of having Gutman talk is so we know what the crap is going on.
Yes, Gutman shows up and says, hello, allow me to bring you a great pile of exposition, sir.
And initially he's like, no, I'm not going to tell you what the film's about. And then he's like, okay, I will tell you what the film is about. And it's very exposition-y, let's face it.
Yeah, it's a big exposition dump.
Yeah, it is a big dump. I actually love the fact that Joel Cairo shows up and said, oh, do you have the bird? And thankfully Spade is smart enough to go, no, but I know I can get it. And then as soon as he's out of the room, he's like, what bird?
What the hell bird is he talking about? What's going on?
I thought there was a sister. What's going on with this? I actually do like the way that that's sort of thrown in, and we all could sit there in the audience go, bird, huh? But parts of it feel... I don't know, just the way that things are gotten around. What, as you said, we don't know what Sam Spade's doing. So sometimes things are a little, just kind of like, I felt a little janky.
I admit
just uneven.
I get that. There are things are thrown at you a lot. And they have to wait till they tie together. I kind of like that effect in this because it makes me feel like we're sort of in Sam Spade's shoes. We don't know what's going on. No. He's having all this stuff thrown at him. He's having all these people appear out of nowhere. These weird things happening, like, oh, wow, a boat caught fire. What?
Yeah.
And I think that...
did that particular scene evoke a scene from any other movies we've seen?
Nearer, my God, to thee. Titanic?
I was thinking actually Usual Suspects.
Oh, okay, that too.
Yeah. Overall, obviously, this came first. So.
Yes. Yeah. Now, I do agree. There is something kind of uneven and almost scattered about the plot and about the writing. I think it works. I think it like draws us along with Sam Spade.
Well, and one of the directorial tricks that Houston uses, I left this out of the trivia, is he often will shoot over Humphrey Bogart's shoulder so that we more feel that we're seeing this all from his perspective.
Yeah, that follows. Okay.
Yeah, Sam Spade, boy, is he sad when his partner dies. He's so sad that he quickly tells Effie, his secretary, to get Archer's name off the window.
And get his desk out of here. Wow. Cold. Yeah, I got to say, the way he uses people, I mean, Effie, the secretary, who is the classic blonde detective secretary, he's like, okay, I want you to take Miss O'Shaughnessy home with you to your mother. Is she in danger? Probably. Okay, so she's in danger. Take her home with you to your house where you live with your mom in case the danger follows. Like, wow, dude, that's harsh.
Because everyone seems to know that Sam Spade is involved in this and his address, so, yeah. And, of course, Sam's getting it from both sides, because we've got people like Joel Cairo showing up and saying, give me the bird, and I don't give you the bird. And then the cops show up saying, you killed your partner. He's like, what? Are you insane? Why would I do that? We heard that you were stooping his wife. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. That is all over town, isn't it?
Yes, I do kind of have a motive. I do have to say, you were talking about the thing that sort of bothers you is the janky plot. What bothers me is the police in this. Like, first of all, one of them punches him in the face because he just gets annoyed.
Well, that seems realistic.
Well, true if it was, but this is San Francisco, not Los Angeles. They're like, okay, we think you killed your partner. Well, you going to take me downtown? No. Okay. Do you have any guns? Yeah, there's some in the office. Are you going to take them and examine them? No. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's very noir-y.
It's very noir, and it's very much, the cops are usually either, in noir films, the cops are usually either idiots or vastly corrupt.
Well, luckily they're both in this film.
Well, I don't know, they don't seem corrupt, they don't get bribed or anything, but they're basically, what should we do, Mr. Sam?
Yeah, this is one of Ward Bond's characters. He's he's Tom, and he's, I don't know what his rank is because he only refers to his boss as a lieutenant. So,
but I think he's a sergeant. I think
probably
says that, but
probably. So, they're just there to add extra pressure onto Sam Spade through this whole thing. I will say that one of the things I do like about Mary Astor's character is she seems to be the themic center of the story. Everything she says is a lie. Well, as it turns out, everything that everybody in the film knows about the bird is a lie.
Yeah.
Because
even to the bird's authenticity,
Right. They finally get it, and it's not a black enamel over solid gold and jewels. It is black enamel over lead.
Yeah.
And it has been chased for 17 years by Mr. Gutman, and he, after a moment of sweaty refusal to not, or denying to refuse, doesn't believe it. Yeah. That thing, he just goes, what's one more year? One more year. Let's go.
And off I thought it was kind of cute that Cairo, who is clearly a rival, he's like inviting him along, and Cairo's like, I'm going with you. It's like, we're going for a walk. Or, Chester's me hero because he's so brave and strong.
Yeah. Well, of course, where do you want your rivals? And that's closest, so you can keep an eye on them. So, and what we find out is that everybody was working with somebody at some point, and they aren't anymore. They're trying to go at it for themselves, and everyone's trying to double cross everybody else. And there's Sam Spade not knowing what the heck the bird even is, even though it turns out he's the one who gets it because. Somehow and I forgot about this, but apparently Mary Astor or Bridget O'Shaughnessy manages to meet the captain, and he's going to give her the bird, but Wilmer shows up, shoots him. He escapes with 2 bullets in him and somehow knows to go to Sam Spade's office, basically go, your message, sir, clump, die.
Well, she apparently told him to do that.
Yeah,
because she figured she had Sam wrapped around her little finger. I assume, and this is one of the things, again, it's kind of nice, they don't spoon feed it to you. The ship is out of Hong Kong.
Right.
And we know she's been to Hong Kong because he's looking at the labels of her clothing and sees that.
Yeah. So there's one point that she might actually have been telling part of the truth, but I'm sure it was a mistake.
Yeah.
There's a few quotes in here I found particularly fun. I mean, the main one everyone knows, the stuff that dreams are made of. Okay. Or, huh? But there's one in here that from Gutman when they're basically deciding, what are we going to do? How are we going to feed a story to the cops? And Sam Spade says, oh, I know. We'll just give him Wilmer. And, of course, Wilmer's not too thrilled about that. And, no, I can't do it. He's like a son to me. Yes. And then, of course, there's a fight and Wilmer gets knocked out. And Sam Spade basically says, look, what else are we going to do? And he comes back with, if you lose a son, it's always possible to get another.
But there's only one Maltese Falcon.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, the only time anyone in the movie says the phrase Maltese Falcon. It's either the falcon, the bird, the blackbird.
Right. And apparently that's true in the book, too. It's like 400 pages in that they actually call it by name. There's also a line from Bridget O'Shaughnessy, and her line is, I've always been a liar. Oh, boy, have you. And will you continue to be through the film? The way that this is shot, I think there's some lovely high contrast shots in this film. It pretty much, except for a couple of scenes, takes place at night, as all good noir films should.
Yep.
I don't think they're as good as those in The Third Man, but I still think they're pretty good. And for a first-time director, there's some stuff Huston's trying, which is not just your regular bread and butter directing. I think he's actually trying to express some stuff in ways that we haven't seen that often. So good for him for taking some chances. And of course, he will go on to direct, another movie here and there.
Yeah, one or two. Nothing major.
But really,
that's true. He's
best known for Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Telling you it's Gandalf. They don't play with shadows as much as Third Man does. They don't play with the contrast as much, but there are some terrific shots, and the cinematography, considering, it's a guy literally with a camera on a dolly, is pretty impressive.
Are there any shots that you have in particular that you liked?
I like the shot of Archer down in the pit after he's been shot, and Sam's looking down at him, and there's a cop next to him. There's a sense of, he is fallen. Literally, he is literally the fallen soldier.
Yeah. There's one where Sam Spade and Bridget O'Shaughnessy are potentially about to get it on, and the camera goes over her head and out the window, and we look down on Wilmer, who's watching from outside. Yeah. That's a really cool shot.
That's a nice shot.
There's also very early in the film, there's a shot just of the floor where you see the names Spade and Archer as a shadow on the floor, and then later it's almost tombstone-y, but later on, of course, we'll see the same thing, but it just says Sam Spade. Yeah.
The line I like, and it's I think a really interesting, it's part of one of the more interesting scenes to me, is at the very end when Bridget O'Shaughnessy is trying to get Sam basically, don't turn me in, when he's figured out she was the one who killed his partner.
Right.
And the greatest crime that she has committed to him is, I won't play the sap for you. She's trying to make him the sap.
Right.
And he cannot stand that. And as he says, I don't know if you'll understand this, but when a man's partner is killed, you're supposed to do something about it. Like, that's it. This guy is not on some crusade for justice or truth or honor. It's like, you killed my partner, and I'm a detective, and what a detective is supposed to do if you kill his partner, you're supposed to do something. Like, that's the best he can do.
Well, I think that is that tiny bit of honor that Sam Spade has.
Yeah, but that's it. It's a tiny flicker in there somewhere. Because it's pretty clear Sam is out for Sam.
Yeah, and he kind of has to be.
Yeah,
at least in
no one else is.
Yeah. What would you say that there is any love of any kind between them, or is there more just sort of desperation and potential lust?
I'm sorry if this sounds, cliche, but I don't think these two know what love really is. I don't think either of them does, because, first off, Sam doesn't trust anybody, and you can't love someone without trusting them, and she is a pathological liar. So, but I think there's a connection, but I think it's more out of need or a sort of wish for it's something they want to be able to have, but neither of them can.
What about Spade's connection with Effie? Because that's a really interesting...
Oh, Effie, the secretary? Not Iva, the wife? Okay, yeah.
Not Iva so much. I mean, Iva is obvious. It's like, I slept with her once. That was a big mistake. And but Effie, he trusts her. He relies on her. There's never, whenever he asks her to do something, there's never a question in his voice that she's not going to do what he needs her to do. And he even asks her at one point, it's like, yeah, what do you think about her? And he's asking about Bridget O'Shaughnessy. Yeah. And she gives an opinion, and it looks like he actually says, oh, well, if she's with her, she's on her side, yeah, okay, I'll go with her. And then regrets that. But
yeah, to a degree, but Effie seems way more like... Effie doesn't seem to be a person. She is a prop. She is a device for him to use.
A Gal Friday.
A Gal Friday, and she doesn't have a lot of personality. She doesn't have... We don't know anything about her. We don't know her last name.
No.
I think it's in the credits, but I don't think we actually know.
I think her name is Miss Skeffington.
Skeffington?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't remember that from Murder by Death?
Sam
Sam right. Diamond.
Oh, that's right.
Miss
that's
Skeffington.
Right.
Yeah, Effie Skeffington. It's kind of too bad because I think that there could have been something fleshed out there. I don't know that it would have necessarily added to the film, but there's obviously something that's meant to be there or was there and isn't any longer, and they've both gotten over it. I don't know.
Maybe. I just got the feeling she's one of the only women, I think she's the only woman in the movie, there are only 3, who likes him.
Yeah.
You know, not like, you know, Effie is clearly, she has some dependence on him, and O'Shaughnessy is using him. Effie just likes him.
Yeah. Maybe it's because he treats her more or less like an equal. I mean, she's his secretary, but when he asks for an opinion, he asks her.
And he pays attention. Yeah, maybe.
And it's obvious he doesn't like Archer very much.
No.
Yeah.
We don't. What do you think of Archer? I mean, what do we know about him? I mean, he's in 2 scenes.
And the thing is that, you know, we can't feel anything for his death because all we see him do is swoop in and... You know, he just about starts smacking his foot in the ground and going, "Ooga, ooga, ooh!"
Does a Tex Avery Wolf thing. And we know he's married, so...
Yeah, and he shows up and he basically swoops in and takes over the tailing job because he thinks he's going to get some tails. But,
You saw her first, but I spoke first.
and Sam Spade's like, yeah, but I got the $200, so go ahead and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And we can also tell how broken up Sam is once Archer is dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's nothing to think about.
Yeah.
There's no
there. Archer is a plot device.
Yeah.
He's just something to get the story moving.
Yeah. I do. The scene where Bridget is basically, when she's being berated by Spade, and she basically confesses that she did kill Archer. I swear it's like a scene with a Martin Short character. You killed my partner. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I know that. Why do you think I wouldn't know that?
It's so funny you think I wouldn't know that.
Because she's like that. She totally is. It's like you'll back into her corner and she'll admit it, but then she'll just make up something else.
She'll lie, sees you don't believe it, and then go, all right, I'll come up with something better.
Yeah. So it works out pretty well.
Yeah.
We do have that question. This is kind of dumb, but I think it's necessary. This is our talking point question for this series. Would this movie have been better in color?
Now, I don't know about you. I can actually answer that because I saw it in color.
Oh,
yes.
It was one of those.
Do you remember the dark times when Ted Turner decided...
Mr. Fonda?
Yeah. You know what? Y'all know what would make movies better if we took the old black and white ones and made them colorized by putting like filters or something on them that look really stupid. Yeah! That is my flawless impression of Ted Turner. Exactly what he sounds like.
Wow. Sure.
Yeah,
Would you like some ice cream?
Yeah, he colorized, Turner Classic Movies or whatever company whichever one of his umpteen companies owned the rights to Maltese Falcon, Casablanca, a ton of classic black and whites, and he said, let's colorize them. And I actually saw part of the Maltese Falcon colorized. I didn't watch all of it because it hurt me. My eyes were bleeding. By the way, what color is the Maltese Falcon? They tell us. It's black. It's covered in black enamel. In the movie, it is dark green. Yes.
Dark green. The color of lead.
Yeah. I don't know, the color of money, something like that.
Well, PB, it's a shortening of a Latin word that means green.
Sure.
I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah, that must be it. No.
Yeah.
This movie, in fact, suffers being in color. It does not work.
To be fair, you were watching a poorly tinted version of a black and white film. What about actually shooting this in color? Would that have done anything for what's going on?
No, I don't think so. I think it would have distracted, if anything else.
Yeah.
The whole thing of the backgrounds and the settings, they aren't important. It's the people. And again, it's the whole thing, the black and white, and the idea that nothing in this movie actually is black and white, including the truth.
Yeah. What truth? You can't handle the bird. Truth. Bird. I meant truth. Damn.
The true bird. The bird of truth. Yeah. No, what do you think?
They call it noir for a reason, right?
Yeah.
That's half of black and white. The whole point is to make something very stark. Not necessarily realistic, shall we say, but something very stark. And the best way to do that is to cut out, even visually, as many shades of gray as possible. Leave that to the plot, or leave that to the characters. Let them stand out because they're not. And I think a lot of times in noir, even though it seems like the characters are black and white, they really aren't. And Sam Spade isn't. He is not all bad.
No.
He's definitely not all good either.
No, he's a mix.
And I think that's the point. Like you just said, let's not distract the audience with the setting that's lots of colors or lots of shades of gray, or, often the only weather you get in noir anything is rain.
Yeah.
You don't get snow. You don't get, I don't know, a tornado or a hurricane or a Godzilla. But you tend to get just whatever it is that can, just be a tiny little bit, a pinch of salt and nothing more.
Yeah.
And so, I agree. This film, I don't think would have been any better, and would have been potentially a good deal worse having been originally shot in color, or by taking digital watercolor and smearing it over a copy of the film, as was done by Mr. Turner. I'm pretty much at the end of my notes. What do you got left, Max?
I think that's most of it. It is interesting that we find out pretty early on, there are like 3 murders.
Yes.
And the one, Archer, the first one, is the one that takes the longest for us to find out who done it. We assume stuff. We assume, probably Wilmer. Wilmer's been killing everybody.
Who's the third one?
The captain of the La Paloma.
That's the second one. Who's the third one?
Oh, the third one. Sorry, the first one was, what's his name? The guy he was supposed to be tailing.
Oh, Thursby, right. Floyd Thursby.
Thursby dies,
right,
Archer dies.
Because we never see him.
No, we never do. Not even in shadow or from behind. He exists entirely off screen.
Yeah.
Was that a problem for you?
No. You know why? Because it turns out the whole thing was just another misdirection anyway.
Yeah, so he doesn't matter.
Having a character even as fleshed out, if you want to use that term, as Archer, wouldn't have added to the script.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that helps us, actually, not as to know that he was inconsequential, murdered or not. It's like, he really just, no.
Yep, he was just a cipher. He was just another chump for O'Shaughnessy.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah.
Well, here's a question.
Yeah.
Assuming she can't. She's going to prison, more likely than not. Actually, all 3 of them are going to prison, because if we believe that little telephone call, Dan, this is Sam Spade. Arrest all these people. They did it. Why? Because I said so. Thanks. Goodbye.
Yeah. Evidence, proof, well...
Yeah, I've got all these guns here with my fingerprints all over them. Here, have them.
Yeah.
Because he does.
Yeah.
Let's pretend for a minute that everyone gets away, just for fun.
All right.
And somebody eventually ends up with the bird, if there is one. Who do you see as being the one who gets the bird?
Who gets given the bird?
Who's the
honestly,
last standing?
I think Gutman would. I think he's the shrewdest. O'Shaughnessy would manipulate, but people would turn against her. I think she would eventually lose herself in her own lies, and Cairo's just too ineffectual. He's not. He's not strong enough. No, I don't mean physically, but his character isn't strong enough. He can't do what has to be done. I think Gutman is the shrewd one. He's the one who keeps almost finding it. I didn't think, though, anyone ever would find it. I think the idea is it's something that would just be chased.
Right. If I had to pick anybody, I'd actually probably pick O'Shaughnessy. And I think that even if she couldn't go directly against Gutman, she has proven that she is more than capable of finding somebody who can.
Yeah,
and she's convincing them that blink, blink, bat, bat, that they should be on her side and help her get the bird.
Yeah.
So that was just a weird little question because they're all going to jail. And do you think, actually, another question, do you think Spade actually will be there in 20 years when she gets out?
I don't think so. I think he was just saying that.
I think he'll be dead.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we should get to that part where we decide if this film holds up after we've done all this talking.
Yep.
The finish.
So, Max.
Yo.
You've seen this film many times, I'm sure.
I have, several times.
And do you like the film, Max? I'm not even going to bother initial impressions. None of us can remember.
Yeah. I don't remember the first time I saw it, how I felt. But, I really like this film. I think this is a great example of film noir. It's a great example of black and white. It's a great example of Humphrey Bogart. It's a great example of that triumvirate you said. Yeah, I think this movie's terrific. What about you?
I watched this, as I said, only a few years ago, and the only major thing I have against this film, is when I was done, I wanted more like this.
Yeah.
And there are other noir films, but they're not like this.
No, they aren't. But there's some good ones. There are a lot of good ones, but they aren't the same thing. No.
I think that the plot could use an iron. There's places where it's kind of wrinkly and is a little janky and doesn't quite flow. I mean, Mr. Exposition or Mr. Gutman, whatever you want to call him. Yes, I'm here to explain the film. And that's what he does. He literally stands there for a few minutes and explains the only reason we should care about this thing that we didn't even hear about until Peter Lorre shows up. But that's fine, because I actually do like the fact that Sam Spade is shown to not only be thrown into something that's way bigger than he thought it was, but how he is able to deal with it on the spur of the moment, like you said, by lying. There's a lot of lying in this film. I think that it's a product of its time. I think you can't take it out of its time. It is, quite honestly, very soft as opposed to the way we would film this kind of things today. In the language, in the sexuality of it. Because I think the most we see ever... No, we don't even see Sam Spade in his undershirt. Like, there is just no anything in this film.
There are a few torrid kisses, and that's about it. So stuff is implied, but...
Well, actually, I didn't ask this. What do you think about the chemistry between Humphrey Bogart and Mary Astor?
I thought it was pretty good. I was willing to believe it. I didn't believe Sam Spade would be interested in her. I think he would never have trusted her.
And see, I found their chemistry to be troublesome, but I don't know that that's a bad thing, because we're not, I think, supposed to think that they would ever get together, or if they did, it would ever really work.
Yeah, basically they'd spend a torrid weekend together, and that would probably be it.
Where I feel the best chemistry in the film is Bogart, Greenstreet, and Lorre. Those three work together like a machine. They're just, I don't know, watching them together, and the two big films are this and Casablanca, and they work amazingly well together, although Lorre doesn't really deal with Greenstreet at all in Casablanca.
No, they're not in the same scenes.
I don't know. They're just, you don't get that kind of thing often, when you've got this small group of people that work together so well, and I think that they work together really well.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you have not actually seen The Maltese Falcon...
All of it. I bet a lot of you have seen pieces of it on TV.
Or think you've seen it. I think it's worth a look. It's not very long. It's like an hour 40.
Yeah.
It's paced pretty well, so I don't think you're going to be particularly bored. Again, it's the 40s, so things are going to feel a little, I don't know,
very
hokey.
Dated. Very dated.
But that's the way it goes. It's a fun movie. It's a great opening film by a first-time director. Houston would prove himself later on. Again, watch him in Bermuda Triangle, because that's his best role.
Don't.
But we have that poll question.
Yes, we do. Tell us again.
Yeah, so we would like to know, who is your favorite screen detective? Could be live action, animated. Just want to know who you think solves crimes the best. And you can let us know by going to Facebook, the only social media we are on right now, and finding us under Max Mike Movies. Leave a comment. We will post a question on, actually, we will have posted over the weekend and when this comes out. You can email us directly, gets you extra bumpy bucks, and we all know what those are worth. Mail us at maxmikemovies.com, which implies, and it's true, we have a website, which is maxmikemovies.com. All our episodes are there. You can leave comments. You can say, hey, you guys are totally wrong about that thing. You guys are totally right about that thing. Or, hey, you guys should be doing this. In which case, we will listen to your comments and potentially make up a whole series based on your suggestions.
Yep.
And you can find us on pretty much, if there's a podcast app, we're pretty much on it. We don't even know anymore, but the biggies are, of course, Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and
Amazon. Yep, all of them.
Amazon, millions of others. But Max,
Yes.
we are still going through life with black and white blinders on.
Yep, we are. It's tough to see.
It is tough to see. I'm glad you picked that up.
Yep.
That's a deeper.
That is a deeper.
One. Yeah, Max, tell us.
Kiss my grits.
I don't have a taste for your grits, Max. No offense. But where are we going to aim our peepers next week?
Well, we're moving up a little to the more recent era, like 2019. We are going to check out a nice, lighthearted movie with those two bubbly, zany comedians, Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, in The Lighthouse.
Tom Story killed me.
Not that lighthouse.
Oh. The Lighthouse, huh?
The Lighthouse. Yeah, not
Willem
exactly
Dafoe
cheery, but yeah, Willem Dafoe, Robert Pattinson. This was
are they lovers?
I don't know. They could be. I'm sure they would make an adorable couple.
The Lighthouse is usually a warning, so take this warning from us and tune in next week to hear us talk about The Lighthouse.
This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.